Hello. Can you hear me? Are things good? Everything good? Good. Welcome to Let's Draw Goths live. Today I'm going to be drawing some Goths. And also, if anyone has any questions about art school, people ask me about that a lot. Should I go to art school? Should I not go to art school? Is it worth it? Is it too expensive? So, looks like we don't have a lot of viewers yet, but I don't know. Is art school something that you're interested in? Is that something you want to talk about? If not, we can always talk about something else, or just hang out and listen to music. Let's see here. I'm gonna bring up some photos as my reference right here that you will not see because I got it on another screen now. And then I'm gonna start a drawing. Let's see, yeah, what are we gonna do with this guy? Okay, so my story. I was working in like the tech bubble, it turns out, the first time around in the late 90s. And I was doing really low level graphic design type stuff, even though I had like grown up drawing my own comics and drawing Spider-Man and whatever, Wolverine. By the time I was like in my mid-20s, I was like already married and to my first wife, and I was working in like these low-level graphic design positions. They didn't feel low-level at the time, but it was pretty rudimentary stuff. There was a lot of like graphic interfaces and buttons and that sort of thing, because I was untrained. I had taken like high school. Oops, oh my god, I'm sorry, I didn't switch over to my drawing. All right, sorry. So I hadn't been trained in any way. This was obviously pre-YouTube, right? So I didn't think that I was like worthy of being like good enough to get like a really cool job at Nickelodeon or something like that, right? And then when the economy crashed in 2001, and I lost my kind of second job in a row, really, I decided to go to school and really try to learn to draw and paint as good as I can. You know, I realized that I had just never really put 100% into anything, especially like my art projects and everything, and I rarely drew anymore. But I still kind of thought, you know, I held on to this idea that I was awesome, that I was like, everything I did was gold for some reason. And it's ridiculous because you know, you look in one of my sketchbooks and it would be like 3 pages would represent 9 months worth of drawing. I just didn't do it very often anymore. So I had been kind of in denial about my skill level and all of it. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to swallow my pride in a way and go back to school and go ahead and invest in myself, which is scary. So I did, and I went to Academy of Art in San Francisco. Did they change their name? Academy of Art University, because they got like accredited. And so that's That's a private art school for profit. Right? So what that means is it's going to be as expensive as going to... Oh my God, I left the baby monitor on. I hope you guys don't hear that. It's as expensive as going to like law school, but doesn't really have the sort of guarantees of a job like other expensive schooling. You know, a lot of school, you go to some university, state school, whatever, and you're learning, I don't know, engineering or law, or etc. These jobs where you can leave and really be sort of guaranteed a job. And that's not how art school works. We can get into that more later. But it's a huge risk. And that's what I did. And I made it through all... I think I was there for like 4.5 years. It's a whole other subject of how long the school will tell you it's going to take to get through the program. And then once you're signed up and registered and they have your money, they tell you, you know, you should take it slower and take less classes at a time. And this whole program that we showed you, or other administration, what are they called? The admissions counselors, you know, they showed you this program of how long it's going to take and what you're going to do each year. It's just, that's just thrown out the window, and they say, oh no, you got to take like no more than 4 classes per semester. All right. So then all of a sudden you're slowed down to more of like a 5.5 year program. But I transferred in a lot of community college kind of general education kind of stuff, so I wasn't that bad off. Gotta concentrate on this guy for a second. Okay, so let's see, where was I? So I can get into my experiences of being in art school a little later in the hour, but you know, the main question on people's minds when they're younger and interested in art or film, animation, is, should I go to art school, right? That's the big question. Is it worth it? So I want to kind of just explore my thoughts and feelings on that. And then if anybody chimes in with any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. So the short answer, should I go to art school? The short answer is no. The long answer is yes, if, yes, but, yes, but. And we can get into those buts right now. Let me get into the big butt of it all. Well, first the no. Why is it no? There's just really a couple reasons why. It's generally, if I don't know you and I don't know your background and you just say, should I go to art school? I'll just play it safe and say no, because statistically speaking, you are absolutely going to drop out before it's become worthwhile for you to be in art school. It's just the most likely outcome for most people that end up trying to go into art school. Like, if you've ever taken like an adult course, not a correspondence course, but you know, like the community center will have some kind of adult enrichment classes, and you'll take like blues guitar or interpretive dance or whatever it is, tap, I don't know, whatever it is. And there's going to be like, say, 8 people in your class. And after, how long do those things last? Like maybe 6 months, maybe 4 months. By the time you're done, if you're still there, you might be the only person in your class. Maybe one other person is still there doing this thing. I've taken like stand-up classes, I've taken guitar, and every time, by the time it's over, there's maybe one other person there with me. And that's like a microcosm of what happens in probably all schooling, but I think especially with, what happened to my big pen? I lost my big pen. There it is. That's what happens in art school. You show up and it's your first semester and you're meeting everybody and everybody's excited for their future and feeling like everything's riding on this next like few moments, few years, whatever. And then people start dropping off. You know, first week it's already a lot smaller. 2 months in, you're like halfway empty in your class size. And it just keeps happening. People keep disappearing, and then by the time, if you are still around to graduate, you probably only know like 4 or 5 people that were around in all of these classes, you know, for your first semester. You only have a handful of people left. And unfortunately, let's see here, what can we do with this? A large for-profit school is set up for that. They're set up for you to come and be excited and give them your federally loaned money, and then hopefully disappear in the first semester, first year. That is going to be the most profitable thing for a for-profit private school. Thanks for the free money. We're kind of glad you're not around anymore to be an expense, you know, to take up classroom space or the teacher's time, etc., etc. It's just kind of like people showing up, handing over some free money, and then leaving. And that's the truth. I tried to make it so this would would lock focus, but clearly it's not going to do that. Oh well. That sucks. Wow. Alright, well, I'll have to figure that out next time. Where was I with this guy? So there it is. The school I went to is set up that way. I don't know. I would assume that all your private art schools are similar, where they really don't mind if you give them your money, your federal loan money, and then leave, or your Sallie Mae, whatever it was, and then disappear. That works out pretty well for them. And that's pretty cynical, but you know, at the same time, if you do make it through, there are a lot of talented people that you will be able to learn from, and there's a lot of benefits that we can get into with the yes but. But first, there's one more reason why you should not go to art school, and that is that you will, unless you got that big butt, or if, you will end up with life-crushing, lifelong debt to the government, to, you know, Sallie Mae or whatever loan companies you're working through. And the reason that these schools can keep pumping students in is because they kind of play on all the hopes and the dreams, and they promise that you're just going to be on this pipeline right into Pixar or whatever dream job that you have coming out of there. They kind of get you all pumped up on these promises, and then you don't seem to really see or care the amount of expense that you are going to be going. You're going to be out very soon, sooner than it feels. You know, 4 or 5 years from now, who knows? I'll be like an old man by then. You know, you just kind of, especially when you're young, that feels like it's forever away. And it's not. And that money is absolutely real. It feels very unreal when you are signing your paperwork to get your free money, and it's just like digits on a page, and there's no, you know, if you had to show up in the administration or the admissions office with cash and give them, you know, cash that you would have to pull out of a bank account or even borrowed, and then handed over this cash, I think it would feel very different, right? So yeah, you're lulled into feeling like there's not any actual money being transacted in this, and you hand over this money in the form of a loan, and then before you know it, you are either graduated, which means that the loans have sort of been put off as far as needing to pay them, or you have dropped out and you're going to need to start paying it right away, right? And now you don't even have the benefit of having any new skills or the degree or whatever it is that you were looking for, but you're already on the hook for this dumb money that you virtually spent, but really spent. Oh, drawing bullets is hard. So those are really the only real reasons why you definitely shouldn't go to art school. And I went pre-YouTube, pre-Skillshare, and all the other ways that you can learn online that are not a replacement for art school, but sure do, you know, kind of supplement before and after or during, whatever you need. Like I said, I wasn't able to take advantage during art school to be able to get on YouTube and figure out how other people draw in perspective or whatever I was trying to figure out. But then there's some buts, right? For one thing, the first big but, or if, whatever you want to call it, why you definitely could, if you want to work, you know, earn your living in art, and you want to get those skills that it's going to take, and get that like oversight, all the benefits, which I'll get into, and you have money, you know, if you come from wealth, go for it. You know, if your parents are going to give you a free ride to art school, or if you got some kind of super cool scholarship to go free ride wherever you want, then by all means go to art school. As long as you're not leaving with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, then it's worth exploring. Anybody interested in this topic that's here? Should I just keep monologuing? Do you like the music better? The other big reason why it's worth going to art school, and again, this is if you are absolutely dead set on you will be an artist for a living. That is there are no like contingency plans. What am I looking for? This guy's picture. The other big reason why it's worth going is the network. like I said, going to art school is not like learning to be an engineer or other job title where you pretty much, you know, you'll have people lining up for you when you graduate to, you know, want to hire you. You got that degree and you can like, yeah, I got a job because I got a degree. It doesn't work like that with art school. It's more like the comedy business. You know, if you know how stand-up comedians come up or disappear, it's that same thing where if you stick around and you keep doing it and you keep doing it and you never give up for 10 years, you'll still be around, and all the people who you came up with or you know, the people who are still at it will still be around too. And then you can all help each other. You know, anytime you have an opportunity, you know, they say, oh, do they know any other comedy writers? You, as a comedian, you'd be like, yeah, I do. And you'd find your crew that you came up with and you'd be like, hey, what are you doing? Can you go work on this TV show? Well, it's the same thing with art school. And you're not going to have a crew of people that you came up with if you you know, learn online, right? Even if you take like online courses through the art school, which is a whole other bag of mealworms. What's the expression? Cool. Duct tape digs the monologuing. Thank you. So, you know, even if you take online courses, you're not gonna make any friends that way, really. It's like having lifelong friends from Reddit. It's probably, I don't know, probably not gonna happen that way. So you need that crew. The other thing that you may need, and I think I needed, is constant immersion in what you're doing and what you're learning. Constant, just like drumbeat all day, every day, all day, every day. Drawing, painting, drawing, painting. Whatever it is you're trying to learn every day. And then the accountability that comes with being in school rather than like having some job where if you are not doing it very well, you know, they'll fire you. Art school, you can't be fired, really. As long as you're trying and doing the work and paying the money, you're still going to be there, so you can keep that drum beat going. Where if you try to like learn on the job with some showbiz type jobs, if you get, you know, fired, then you're done with that one. I don't know if that's a totally comparable analogy, but the drum beat is important. Draw. And, you know, once I was in school, I did that for 4.5-ish years. And so I had, you know, the chops from constantly working. And what was the other thing I wanted to say about that? Oh, and learning how to have a process for what you're doing, how long things should take, whether it's taking you that long or not. I think this guy's looking okay. I'm not going to take forever on this dude. This was... I'm blanking on his name now. Raven. This is Raven. And he joined me for the last live and sent me this picture. You can send a picture through Let's Draw Goths on Instagram. Finish this up real quick. All right. And oh, the other big thing about art school that people should know that I did not know is to temper your expectations as far as how you're going to start out with your skills and how you're going to end up by the time you are graduated and walking down the aisle and interviewing with Cartoon Network or whatever. You're not going to go from 0 skills to, you know, super master artist. 4 years feels like forever, especially when you're young. Oh, 4 years, in 4 years time I'll be this master artist. 4 years isn't very long, even with the constant immersion of your drawing, painting, whatever it is you're studying. I'm just going to say drawing because I don't want to have to keep saying whatever. So if you are starting off at 0 skills, you're probably going to be one of those people that drops out, most likely. There was a lot of people that I started off with in art school who had never really drawn before. They'd never tried to sculpt anything. And now they're in a sculpture class, or even like you haven't even done anything in the sketchbook, or you're wanting to like work for a movie studio and you've never tried to make a home movie, like especially now with, you know, everybody's got a movie studio in their pocket. But you know, even when I went to school in the early 2000s, you could have gotten a hold of a mini DV camera or whatever and been making home movies. But especially like the people who wanted to work in animation and they'd never drawn, they just were like, oh, I like anime, I like watching SpongeBob, that looks fun. Or I like playing video games, that's one of my favorite. I like playing video games, so now I'm here to learn how to make the video games, even though I've like never even like tried to code anything or do any computer graphics or draw or anything. They just thought that it was just gonna all be fed into their head like in the Matrix, and they were gonna be shot out of some pipeline into EA games or Pixar, you know. I'm gonna pull Raven off here. I think that's done. Or maybe I'll sign it. A more realistic outlook is if you are pretty good when you start out, you know, you got people are like, oh, you're talented. Your family's like, oh, keep drawing. Your friends like your drawings. Then you're pretty good, and you can start off pretty good and at least have, you know that you enjoy drawing. That's a good start. And then once you're done with that 4 years, you can be a lot better than you would be from just hanging out watching stuff on YouTube or something. But you're not going to be master level. You're not going to probably be at the skill level where it's still, I mean, you're still going to have trouble getting jobs as a graduate of art school. And that's one thing that they don't tell you when the ex-models are walking you around on campus, enamoring you with their beauty and their tales of how exciting it is in art school, you know. Let's see, I need a little more tape. The truth is, you're going to graduate and you're still going to be competing for jobs with people who have been at it for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, who have friends in the industry, like I was saying. And you're going to be like, oh, I want to work for you, Pixar, for the one role that's open right now, maybe. And they're going to be like, oh, yeah, we're not going to write back because we're going to hire, you know, a friend of a friend even that has been vetted more and has a decent portfolio. So the idea of graduating and just landing in an amazing job is unrealistic, but they perpetuate that as well. I forgot to write down the name of this young lady, but let's start a new one here. Maybe I'll do this one direct just for fun. No underdrawing. And so on a related note, okay, you're taking the tour, you're thinking about art school, and you know, this is obviously, all of this monologue is when we're not worried so much about pandemics and stuff. Right now, it's a bit of a moot point, right? But anyway, they're taking you on the tour, And these X models or current models, whatever they are telling you about how you're going to be in a life drawing class, and you're going to be drawing tigers. They're going to bring in tigers from the zoo, and etc. And then they're going to be showing you this like example work of the students that are attending this school, and they're all in these display cases around the campus. Well, let's start with that. First of all, that work is from the creme de la creme. The cream of the crop people. And a lot of that work you might not even notice on the names is from like the same names, over and over again. And honestly, some of them might have already graduated and their stuff is still sitting in these display cases or up on the computer screens as you go through the computer labs. I know for a fact that other schools have pulled that move, kicked out the students. I've heard this story where, oh my God, I should have silenced my phone. Sorry. I've heard students at other Bay Area art schools say that they would get kicked out of the class when the tour would come through, and the tour bots would go through and put up better student work from like 2 years ago on all the screens, like they were all working on that. I mean, it can be let's call it a hustle, if not a scam sometimes. And these stories of like, oh, you're gonna get into school and you're gonna start drawing these tigers, that never happened. And if something that special did happen, it would be like on one of these like special one time per semester where you'd show up on a Saturday and it'd be like this sort of extra workshop thing. They'd oversell what happens in the classes for sure. And actually, I was pissed when I started at the Academy of Art because they toured you on the bus through all these different buildings, and they're like, oh, you're an illustration major? Well, you're going to be in this building all the time. And then I showed up for my first day, and my classes were all in a converted parking garage, and it was all echoey, and I couldn't tell what the teacher was saying. And this girl has a huge cranium, like some kind of H.R. Geiger thing. Fix that later. So I was pretty mad, and like the noise was like causing, and all the pressure of it was like causing me to have anxiety attacks, Well, this girl was super psyched to get asked to be drawn, and I don't know if I'm going to show this to her because it's not working out. I'm talking too much. Yeah, looks like Jay Leno. All right, this isn't working. All right, let's bail on this one. Maybe direct drawing was a huge mistake. Can't talk and direct draw at the same time, turns out. All right, let's try that again. Was there anything else that I wanted to talk about with art school? Anybody got any questions? All right, how about some stories? Oh, by the way, this idea of the one last thing, there's the idea of like the pipeline to Pixar, I called it, where people think that they just need to show up for class and keep showing up, and when they're done, they will be dropped off at the door of their favorite animation studio or whatever. And there was a lot of hubris involved there. There was one kid who didn't even do the homework, and when the instructor would ask him about it, you know, where's your drawings? He'd be like, I'd be more of an idea guy. You know, I'm just gonna hold off on my energies until I have a job at Pixar. I'm kind of more really like a director, so I'm gonna kind of hold on to my ideas and my energy until I have my job at Pixar. The guy said that. And the instructor was like, oh, really? Tell me about some of your ideas. I don't know, I have nothing specific right now, but I'll put some energy into it when I have my job as a director at Pixar. The truth is, those rare cases of people that really graduated and got right into their amazing job at whatever it is they wanted to do, they were already pretty good when they started. They already kind of had an idea of what their style was even. They were like causing the other students to stop what they were doing and be like, oh my God, I didn't know you could do that. That looks, whoa. You know, the instructors would be very encouraging to these. Yes, I'm talking about. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Thank God that guy's gone. No, you know what I mean. There's these like hidden gem stars, you know, of art that just like got it. They got the mojo, and they started off ahead of everybody else, and then they go to school and they graduate and they're even better, or maybe they don't even need to graduate. Maybe they get plucked out of school early. Those are the people that get the amazing job right out of school. That's the reality of it. This is the weirdest drawing. Oh well. That's pretty much my thoughts on specifics of whether a person should go or not. Oh, my other thought though is check out like state schools that have good illustration programs, or a non-private for-profit situation is pretty much always going to be a better bet, because all you really need is to have that immersion that I was talking about, and to have your crew. And you're going to end up, if you go, I had thought about going to San Jose State, because they had a great program, and I visited, and the artists that were working on animations and stuff there blew me away. I'd never really seen like professional work like that being done by a student or otherwise, and I bailed on that idea because they weren't going to take any of my transfers, and I wanted to be like done and out of the situation as soon as possible, and I was in a big hurry, so I didn't do that. But I think that's probably a better way to go, because you need to meet your crew that you come up with. And if you're a ragtag bunch of state students, in Ohio or San Jose or wherever, that's going to be your crew, and that's probably going to work out just as well as anywhere else. You're not going to get like maybe necessarily the world-class instructors that you would get in private art school, but those people you don't meet until your last year, which they also don't really tell you. Your first year instructors are going to be weirdos, and I know because I was a first year instructor, and I had some in my first year, of course, which is other stories that I could get into. So yeah, find the cheapest way to get the crew and the immersion. That's my advice, unless you are wealthy. And there it is, my thoughts on art school. And now some stories. I can't tell where this girl's. She's got like kind of some sideburns coming out of here. It's not lining up, so I'm just going to put it back here instead. And then where I really went wrong was with her profile. So I'm going to do a little bit more planning this time. My first day, I had visited San Francisco on occasion, like for, you know, special occasion trips. I grew up in the Bay Area, and but like the North Bay, so, you know, my parents would take me sometimes for you know, a zoo trip or to get pizza or something. But I had never been like immersed in the San Francisco lifestyle enough to like know what the weather is going to be like, you know. And my then wife scared me into thinking that it was going to be like going to school in Vermont. And so, you know, she kind of pressured me into wearing long johns under jeans like it was snowing or something. And if you've never been to San Francisco, it's always 65. I mean, until global warming started taking over this last couple of years and there was orange fire, but generally it's always just like 65. And I love that. You know, I grew up in the North Bay, and it was pretty much the same there, it turns out. You don't need long johns. But I showed up for school my first day with long johns. Does she have a nose ring? Let's just pretend that she does. I'm not sure. And then I was too hot pretty much immediately, and I went into a stall in a bathroom to take off these long johns and to take care of whatever other business I needed to attend to. Yeah, it's fine. And well, I think I was like mid-changing out of these long johns, and I flushed the toilet, and immediately it was just like a geyser of some flushing problem where water just started spouting and pouring out of the toilet. And I think I had like a parka on still, you know, all this like Arctic gear, and the long johns are down, and I just like out of instinct just dove onto the door and the stall wall and hung there like Indiana Jones until it ended and I could get back down. That's really my only memory of my first day. Oh, and the parking garage disappointments, right? Well, I was wanting to do 3 Goths and a game. Should I do 3 Goths and a game, or I think at this point I can do 3 Goths or 2 Goths and this game. Okay, hold on. We got a thought here from duct tape. I went to San Jose State for graphic design. Definitely jealous of the animation illustrator's work. Went to CCSF before that. Yeah. You just got to have the layers and the microclimates. That was the lesson, right? And yeah, I mean, when I went to San Jose State for the day, they were super gracious about letting me hang out. And that was a huge learning moment for me, maybe more than a lot of the things I saw once I did get into art school, because I didn't realize what like one professional level, you know, these are probably advanced level students, what they were capable of on their own. I thought that you needed like a studio full of talented people, and then like or semi-talented people, and then like everybody would sort of pool their talents in order to make something worth watching on TV or whatever. So I'm hanging out in this animation class, and this they were all showing their pencil tests, which was I doubt that they do this anymore in animation class, but it was literally pencil on paper with the flipping, and then you would to record it, you'd have to put it on a light table with the glass and take a picture of each drawing. There's no way that why would they do that? Some kind of hipster, obsolete program for no reason. They can't do that now. But anyway, let's see. I want some gray on the eyeshadow here. Just do some hatching because I don't know where my gray is. So I'm hanging out in this class, and I just remember, being blown away in general, but there was this one guy who everybody had to draw or animate, pencil on paper, somebody jumping over a puddle. And this is what I mean, where like, what is one person capable of? And when you see what one person could do to like push the assignment into like jaw-dropping territory, you're like, I didn't know you could do that. I just did like the minimum, which is where most people are at, right? This one guy had like this kid in a cape, and he looked like Saturday Morning, and he's like standing with his arms akimbo, and then he just like leaps, and he's got this like towel cape flowing behind him, and he jumps over the puddle like it's some kind of action movie, and with all the follow-through animation going in the cape and everything. I didn't know that a person could like do that good of a job on their own, you know what I mean? You kind of get handed your ass in a lot of ways when you go to art school, and I think that's a huge, maybe that's one of the yes ifs too. Like if you think you're awesome and you've never like taken any real classes, then you probably should go to art school and get your ass handed to you that way, and realize that you're not anywhere near as awesome as you think you were, and just swallow your pride and start learning instead. When I was in art school in San Francisco and getting into these senior classes, like my first couple of years, I could kind of be better than, a good chunk of the kids and get kind of superior about it. And by the time I was like in my third year, I was just getting blown away by people, to where I would like come home like in tears. Oh, there was somebody better than me in class. And it would turn out that person was a pro who already worked in an animation studio. But still, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to run into people who are just like eons better than you at whatever it is you were trying to do. Like, everybody's trying to do their own thing, sure. But sometimes you're trying to do something, a certain look, style, whatever. And then you see somebody who's already doing that so much better than you ever could. And you're just like, maybe I should give up on life, But you can't do that either. You got to just keep doing girls with big craniums. What else? Oh, first year had its problems. There's a lot of problems to go over in my first year in art school, because like I said, they were pretty hungry. They are pretty hungry for instructors. It's a huge machine of a school, and getting people to be like a first year instructor who's remotely qualified is hard. And when I tried it, I almost got canned. I came very close to getting canned my first day. I mean, that's a whole other story, but my first year, first day, there was this guy who was supposed to be teaching. Let me get another color here. He was supposed to be teaching Intro to Computer Graphics, which was really kind of to get people's feet wet in like Photoshop and Illustrator, and to just understand what it is going on in a computer when you're trying to make computer graphics, and what you need to have happen, etc., etc. Right? Just kind of the basics if you've never tried to do any computer graphics. So this guy that they rounded up Don't be trying to Google this guy. I haven't bothered trying because let's not shame anybody. But this guy was like part of the. That's too dark. Hold on. This guy was part of the hippie 60s counterculture concert days, you know, like he would do the oil and the water, the colored oils and however they do it in order to make like a light show happen behind a concert at like the Grateful Dead or something. Pink Floyd, I don't know who else did it. That's what this guy, what his background and expertise was, which is fine, except that he would tell us about that for an hour. He would tell us about, like, I swear to God, one time there was a guest speaker who turned out to be awesome, and I was like, please stay, don't leave. This guy seriously knew what he was talking about. But he was stalling, waiting for this guest speaker to show up, and he started telling us about how to churn butter. And that guy got, I think he got let go after the semester. And the entire semester, me and the more proactive students who went to the school were trying to, you know, complain to the department heads who would just shrug us off and be like, you need, you know, I'm sure that they get complaints from moody youngsters all the time who have a problem with the way a teacher operates or whatever. So they were just shutting us down and not really paying attention to our complaints. But he finally got let go like at the end of the semester, and we all got our money back. I mean, it was like a gift certificate form where we could take another class for free, but it was that bad. Where is that guy now? No, I don't want to know. Oh, I can't give up on this girl yet because she's still got to carry a cat. I think one thing that beginners do is they don't know where to start making their lines. So I don't want to like try to make a shoulder or anything yet. I want to figure out where this cat has to be in order for the pose to make sense. And the cat's nose needs to be right here. Okay, so now of course I have to tell the story. I got to get that focus thing fixed. I apologize. Now I got to tell the story of my disastrous first time teaching on campus. This school, you know, most schools, if you want to teach, you need a master's degree, but the academy just wants like qualified professionals to be teaching. You know, people who have been out there in the world, you know. So after a few, oh God, when did I think I came back to teach like maybe 8 years after I had graduated, and I had like illustration experience and had been kind of doing my own thing. And so I got in as an instructor. I think I was online for one semester, and that was okay, just teaching online courses. But I ended up doing what was kind of the new version of that same class, just trying to get first year students to understand how to get around in Photoshop was basically the point of the class. I'm gonna concentrate on a hand here for a second. So I had done, you know, a reasonably good job online, and when I started on campus, I kept waiting for the time when they would bring in new instructors in and be like, okay, here's the overhead machine, and here's where you're gonna sit, and here's what you're gonna, you know, kind of do. I mean, I had lesson plans on, you know, PDFs of lesson plans, the stuff I needed to talk about. That's fine, but I was missing like an initiation of what you're actually gonna be doing when you're there. You know what I mean? Do I take roll first? You know, what do I do if somebody's not? I don't know. There's just a lot of questions that had gone unanswered, and I was waiting, and I didn't speak up, and that never happened. There was never the initiation, really. So I just showed up on my first day as an instructor. And I had two, what was it called? Not units, sections. 2 sections, which means 2 different classes of kids, right? Instances of doing the same thing. And the first day was probably 80% ESL kids. Just a lot, and maybe it's cultural too, because they were all Asian, which meant that like there was a lot of just like smiling and nodding, and me not understanding that they didn't know what I was talking about. And then once I started to figure out that a lot of them didn't know English at all, and everything sort of needed to be like repeated and gone through. She wasn't even an interpreter. There was this woman who I thought was going to be an interpreter, and it turned out that she was just like somebody who was trained in understanding that somebody didn't understand what was going on and needed more help, which I'm not sure how that helps anybody. So that was horrifying. And then the next class came in, and they were just more of a kind of a general group of first year students. And my first day, I kind of went through like roll call and all the first day kind of stuff that you're supposed to do, which wasn't much. And then I, you know, ran out of stuff to talk about, and I just sent them all home. And it was like a half hour into class time, and the head of the department came around was checking in on people, see how they're doing. And apparently she had checked in on me, and I was not doing great because I had left, and she was unhappy, very unhappy, and I was almost fired. And I had to like come in and talk to her and the other department head and explain that I just didn't understand that students, like, they're paying for an amount of time of class time, and you absolutely can't skirt them. No matter, even if you talk about churning butter, you cannot skirt them on that time. So I lived and learned there, and we also talked about my difficulties with the mostly ESL class, and she's like, why don't we just take that away and we'll have somebody else do that for you, and you can just work on the one class. So that's what I did, and it was still tough because it was like, you know, I think I probably would have had fun if it was like a drawing class, because I've done that sort of thing on my own, where I would, you know, have a live model and help people draw from that. You know, I think that's enjoyable, walking around looking at people's pads. But this was all people in a lab in front of a computer, so it was a bunch of iMacs, and I couldn't see anybody's faces unless they would, like, you know, purposefully look at me to listen. And a lot of people were like falling asleep. You'd have to like darken the room even for them, you know. Some of them were like, I mean, first of all, they're all first years, which means basically you've got those shining light students that I was telling you about that are just very intent on learning and very interested in taking in everything. That's like 2 students, 3 students maybe. The rest were like basketball scholarship people who were only there because they were getting a free ride and they needed to show up for a class. And a lot of people who had just gotten out of high school and still thought that, you know, the teacher is to be like scoffed at and not paid attention to, and they're all going to get on Facebook Messenger and not pay attention. And I'd come around and talk to people on their, talking about their assignments and figure out what they've done so far, help them out. One girl had nothing on her screen, and I was like, "What's going on? Let's see your assignment. What's happening?" And she goes, "I'm just trying to learn Photoshop." Just rubbing her mouse around on nothing. That's what was challenging about the first year students. So I've been to both sides of it, I guess. I was always right on both sides, of course. I was the protagonist. That's the difference, right? Let's see here. So I've been on for an hour, so I think what I'm going to do is put a button on this DJ with the cat, and she probably deserves to be redrawn, because what didn't end up in frame is that she's a DJ and she's got like this cat at her DJ station, which is pretty funny. So unfortunately that didn't fit in here. Maybe I can fudge it a little bit down here. I don't think I've ever done the like CD disc, you know, setup like this. I was a DJ at a roller rink when I was a teenager and tried my best to learn like the beat matching, and that was not necessary for roller rink work, but you know, I liked going to the clubs, and I tried to not great effect, which is why I'm not a DJ now. But I've never done like the CD version. I wonder if that's gotta be helpful. People are buying it, right? Or does it just look cool? I don't know. And so once I've got this figured out here, I'm gonna try a game, and it's I don't know if it's gonna work, but that's what's fun. And if it works, we'll do it again, and if it doesn't work, we'll never speak of it again. No, I don't care. The game is something that I haven't done in a while, but you know, when I was doing a lot of illustration work for clients, and there's a lot of like conceptualization to go on, it was a nice like warm up or something to stay in practice when I didn't have a gig, and that is working from magnetic poetry, just like a random thing that you, some kind of random concept or sentence that you make with the magnetic poetry tiles, and then you try to draw that. And you know what? Sometimes it works, and sometimes it's funny, and sometimes it doesn't work. But let's see. I think I'm just gonna fill this in with hair here. Kind of fudge that a little bit. What kind of work do you do, Duct Tape? You said you were working on something? What is it? Okay, total brain fart side note. I've been watching Cobra Kai's new season, of course. And it's so weird how you can't, once you're like a grown-up, you can't get out of the fuddy-duddy grown-upness of your outlook on life and situations. And I mean, especially now that I'm a parent, forget about it. So, you know, I can suspend my disbelief. You know, it's a fun adventure. I can suspend my disbelief on these people, these kids learning karate in a matter of like, what, 6 months. All of a sudden they're experts and kicking asses in tournaments and at roller rinks and whatever. But there are some things where I just couldn't let it go. Oops, there's tape here. That's all right. That's not even in frame. All right, that's fine. Good enough. Good enough for TV, that they used to say. Good enough for TV. Oh, nice. Licensed apparel companies. Yeah, I've done a lot of t-shirt design. I'm not sure how familiar you are with me and my work. I was doing a lot of merch by Amazon stuff the last couple of years before focusing on drawing Goths and being on YouTube this last pandemic year, because when they shut down merch by Amazon, I just didn't know if there would ever be money in that again or when it would be back, and I didn't want it to be up to anybody else what I do. And I didn't even know if people were going to be too poor to buy t-shirts. Remember that? Are you concerned about that? I think t-shirts are doing fine still, but when the pandemic first hit, I wasn't really even sure what I should be working on, so that's why I pivoted to this kind of stuff and haven't really been doing a lot of t-shirts lately. Oh, but Cobra Kai, the last, I don't want to spoil anything, so if you're watching it and you haven't gotten to the episode like 3 yet, this is good, right? Do we need anything else on this girl? They get the bullies show up to learn at Cobra Kai, and they make them all fight to the death practically, even though it's their first day. And the Hawk kid just kicks this bully's ass, just keeps wailing on him and wailing on him on the floor, on the mat, to where he can't even be shown on camera getting his butt turned into a puddle. And I was just like, nope, I can't believe that even the bully has parents who are going to be like, oh, we sent our kid to your dojo for a free first lesson and he came back a red puddle of bone fragments. Do you know what went on? All right, let's try the magnet game. The other problem I had was when the again, if you haven't gotten to this point, what's the name of the? I'm so bad with names on TV because I don't have to use them. But the main kid, the Hispanic neighbor from the Cobra Kai dojo, I forget his name now, but he's paralyzed and then he learns how to walk. And to show that he's learned how to walk and doesn't need to be in a wheelchair anymore, they, with heavy metal going, they go and throw away the wheelchair in a dumpster. And I'm like, that's a perfectly good wheelchair. Can't you take it back to the hospital or something? Such a nerd. Oh, sweet. You are in Amazon merch. That's good. Are you in the collab program? I'm in the collab program. Once Shane Dawson got canceled, there wasn't really any more money in that for me. Let's see. Okay, so magnets. I've got my seasoned pan. I'm just going to start pulling out tiles at random here. See if I can make, maybe we'll choose one that works out of 3. How's that? Oops. Bandolier. Oh, gee, I already drew that today. It's getting crazy. Oh, okay. How about oops? Oops, he said. Oops, he said wild horses win. That's sweet dad. Yeah, I haven't heard from Collab in a year. They used to send emails. Rick and Morty turned down my one and only attempt as well. And that's why I stopped working with that, because not because of that specifically, but you have to do a finished concept that's ready to go, ready to print. You can't really show anybody a rough. I really don't think I want to do a bandolier, sorry. And if they turn it down, then you've spent, what, 3 days or more working on something to make it polished and perfect, and then they say no, and you're like, well, what am I supposed to do with this drawing of Shane Dawson? But I had 2 Shane Dawson shirts that were selling 1 or 2 a day before he got canceled. Now it's probably 1 a week. But it was more than I've been paid for any other t-shirt design I've ever done. Okay, Shine next. Old Widow Parker. Rust Me Where. No, that doesn't mean anything. Old Widow Parker, Shine Me Where Rust Road. How about Shine Me Like Rust Road? Yeah. One more. Oh, and then I did this amazing Shane Dawson follow-up shirt the next year, last year. It was really cool, I think. It was like kind of spoofing on this viral photo of him rushing through downtown LA or something, Burbank or wherever he lives. And it was kind of a play on that image. And I went to submit it, and I was like, where's the Shane Dawson? Where's the Shane Dawson? They had pulled, like they had divorced from Amazon. He's not even part of the program really anymore. There's no new designs allowed in. So I was like, oh cool, that's definitely a waste of time. Tried to contact him directly, but he was trying to launch some makeup or something, and then he got canceled, so that's over. I mean, whatever. I've never even, I think I watched one video in order to figure out who he was when the program started. Dazzle at the Moon, next Wild West, a bank robber. How about the Wild West bank robber dazzles at the moon? All right. Oh, that's awesome. You got some good clients. I was always hoping that like Universal Monsters would be something I could get into, but I was able to do a little bit while I was at Famous Monsters magazine, but just a couple of designs before that relationship ended. Mine, I mean, I don't know what their relationship is with Universal. Okay, so do you like Oops, he said wild horses win that sweet dad? Do you like Old Widow Parker, Shine Me Like Rust Road, or the Wild West bank robber, Dazzle at the Moon? Choose now, please. Let me get my stuff together here. But yeah, no, with merch, I've just been trying to figure out doing my own, niche stuff. Figuring out what people are searching for and then making stuff that they might like. Well, let's see here, just in case you're not seeing this. Digging the last one the best. Okay, Wild West bank robber, Dazzle at the Moon. Okay. Visualizing. Thanks for choosing. Okay. This is also practice because I want to start doing more instructable draw-alongs for y'all. Give anything away, but I'm thinking that's probably going to be the moon. Duct Tape, did you ever go to like Comic-Con and network with people there? My last Comic-Con, I was just thinking about that because of your licensing biz. My last Comic-Con was rough, but I met the guy who was doing licensing for Universal. I was there, that's why I thought of it. But I was working for Famous Monsters magazine, and it was just like the first time I had gone to Comic-Con as like an employee, just hawking other people's wares. So that wasn't fun. A lot of times I like doing this stage with watercolors, like just maybe just some dirty water on a brush. Barely not water, I mean, clear water. Just a little bit of paint maybe. I'll try that sometime, but it gets kind of messy and cumbersome with these lives. Okay. I'm on Design by Humans. I make over $3 per month on Design by Humans. So, thanks for that. I think it's because when I first got into the POD game, I was using it on like really experimental stuff and not filling it out with my more successful things since. So at some point I got to get on there and put some more designs. But I know they have some kind of licensing deal for norms like me to be able to get on, so that's kind of cool. But I've been having more fun with the with the books this last year or two, which is not making me t-shirt money, but I find it more fulfilling to try to really make a book. I've got some low content, of course. That was my foot in the water. Oh, well. That's fine. But my coloring book is through print on demand, my Goths coloring book. And I made another one made about monsters before that. So that's my second coloring book then. And I got a joke book, and I've got a children's book, which I'm happy with, but I probably should have decided whether it was really a children's book or not. It's kind of for grown-ups and kids, but that's about bugs and all of the various clothes that they might wear. It's a weird concept, but I just tried to make like something fun that would teach kids or people some rudimentary fashion design or fashion history, right? That was fun. And I just turned that into a audio book. Soft announcement on that because I haven't told anybody. So clearly half of these magnets are from a Nickelodeon set and half are from a Wild West set, is what I'm realizing now. So maybe I'll get some kind of goth themed. Yeah, it's coffee money, and it's like it's about having as many streams as possible. And once you start getting reviews for t-shirts, of course, it's already proof of concept, right? That you get these reviews on Amazon, the more they build up and the more of a track record you get, you start ending up with hits that you didn't realize were going to be hits, a year or two ago when you made the design. So I hope the same thing happens with the books, that it's just like a slow build. You'll see that these books that are print on demand and coloring books and whatnot, and they'll be selling like a couple a day, doing really well, a lot of reviews, and they were released like 3-4 years ago, and they're still doing that well. I don't, who knows what kind of advertising they're doing, but I'm just hoping to build up as many of those titles as possible. Oh, he's not a bank robber yet because he doesn't have the money. They always had like the money symbol right on the bag. Gotta have that. How else would you know it's money? What do you think of this soundtrack? I license this stuff so I don't get kicked off of YouTube or Twitter or anything, and you kind of got to make some compromises. I got all excited about the idea of doing like a real DJ'd set like the dance club days of old, but that's the kind of thing that'll get you kicked off if you're not careful. So I'm not going to do that. How are you feeling these days? Any anxiety? Any good feelings? Feeling better about things, about the world? I am. I mean, I'm still having apocalypse dreams, so I think it's going to take a while to feel better about the state of the world, especially since we're in the middle of the pandemic still. But yeah, I've been having all these dreams about this future Trumpian apocalypse, you know, where Trumpism keeps growing like Scientology almost, you know, and what that would look like in 30, 50 years. I keep having dreams about that, which is not fun. Constant fighting and being pursued by weird hovercrafts that broadcast Trump sayings out of it, you know, like out of the bullhorn. That's not fun. I'm definitely out of art school stories if I'm talking about my dumb dreams now. Yeah, so it's 11:30, so I'm gonna put a button on this in a bit, and then that'll be that for this stream. But yeah, I think this works out okay. Maybe I'll get a more gothically themed set of magnetiles. Magnetiles, that's my son's game. This is magnetic poetry, sorry. Well, I have to fudge that gun hand. I'm actually doing my books through Amazon too. Yeah, it's the Kindle Direct Publishing. It used to be Create Space, but they did some kind of merger, I don't know, right around the time that I started. So it's through Kindle, and I, you know, checked out other options, but they would either take forever and not really necessarily be any more cost effective. So I just buy enough copies when I want them and have them sent to me at like my author price, which is very reasonable. That's why I went with it. And you know, if I run out, I just send people to Amazon and build up that that sales history and reviews and stuff on there. Packing up stuff and sending people things isn't really my favorite thing to do, but it's kind of the only way to get people like signed copies. Or custom colored pages. I've sent off some custom colored pages from the books for people. Alright, so this guy needs another hand. Duct tape, have you been in this racket for a while? How'd you get into it? I figured out POD. I had been on Redbubble forever, and then it was just like coffee money, like you said. And then I put up one design that ended up being a hit, and that was when, like, on Redbubble, you could be like featured on the first page if it was good. You might get blogged about or whatever, so you get like a lot of visibility, and I think there's just so much more competition now that it's different. But I had a hit, I had a couple hits actually, and then I saw that somebody had ripped off the hit, you know, which of course, you know, now happens all the time, but I was just personally offended and trying to get it shut down on Teespring or whatever it was. And then I sort of just had a change of attitude, like, oh, maybe I should be exploiting all of my own art the way that somebody, you know, who hacks into my portfolio would. You know, what would if you lived on an island somewhere trying to scratch out a living out of a hut, what would you do with my art? I'll just do that because I got a kid now. It's not joking around anymore. So started learning about best ways to take advantage of POD and got into merch by Amazon. And I need to fill it out a little more, but it's, you know, it's been pretty good. All right, let's see here. Maybe one more bag of money. Make it super obvious that it's money as best as I can. Oh, interesting. So you weren't even really making your own art at first. Yeah, that kind of seems to be the way that most people got into it. I really felt like odd man out already having designed t-shirts in the past, because it's not the same. I tried to just like, I'll upload some cool art that, you know, looks cool. That does not matter on Amazon. It makes more sense to just know about, you know, search engine optimization and finding niches and stuff. So there's a lot of people who do a lot better than me because they can just bust through stuff, and I'm sitting around trying to make things look good or something. Which is why the books are probably a better fit for me anyway. I spent probably 6 or 7 months on this last book, and I just worked on it every day and chipped away at it. And it's going to make whatever money it makes, but at least somebody's going to see it. There's been countless t-shirt designs that I thought were just going to be golden, and for whatever reason, they just didn't resonate with people, or nobody ever found them from a search because I'm not good with the SEO. I don't know, but it's just a bummer when you spend like 3 days on a t-shirt and nobody ever sees it. But then Christmas comes around and who knows, somebody buys a spelling expert t-shirt or whatever I had done. Let's see here. This is a bank, so it's going to have to be kind of fancy with some stuff here. This focus thing is really bumming me out. So did you used your experience as a mercher to get into kind of some next level stuff, huh? That's what it sounds like. That's cool. Yeah. Amazon buries the new fledgling designs, and the stuff that already does well is what shows up for people. Yeah, I mean, with my book, I just did a search for goth coloring book on Amazon in the books category, and it doesn't even show up until the second page, and it's like, who goes to the second page of anything? So I gotta get that figured out. Maybe I gotta start buying ads. that's my bank. Maybe it's got like stairs and like a trail of money. Is that cheesy? It's a good exercise because with illustration, is it's all about trying to clearly show your story or your idea, your concept, whatever, as clearly as possible. And you don't have to be Da Vinci about it or anything, but you gotta just make sure the point reads. So it's a nice little exercise. Oh, the moon. You know, what'd be interesting is maybe don't outline the moon. When something's like supposed to be a light source or glowing or whatever, it's better to not actually outline that generally. Unless you're Mike Mignola or something. He gets away with breaking every rule that there is. And it looks good anyway, but generally, don't outline it maybe. Right on, Duct Tape. Thanks for being here, man. Have fun at work. Or doing work. We're all at work all the time now. I'm going to wrap up this guy and have second breakfast. Hey, if you're watching this somehow all the way through after the fact, anybody with questions about art school or I guess print-on-demand business came up, so I'm probably more transparent about that stuff than 90% of the people out there who are very guarded about their secrets for print-on-demand success. I actually even have a class on designing for print-on-demand. I could have mentioned that earlier in the stream, but if you go on to Skillshare, maybe I should put a link in the description here after the fact, but you go to Skillshare. I did a class on designing in Clip Studio, which is my favorite illustration app for the purpose of printing t-shirts. And there's a lot of tricks that I've come up with that I don't think most people are doing, and some of them are just illustration, the process of illustration in general. It gets gone over. So if you didn't go to art school and you would just like to know more about the process of illustration, that's in the class too. But I also go into the specifics of how to make a sharp looking t-shirt that looks like a vintage t-shirt. This is another great trick with illustration, is just like drop one color behind your stuff to make it stand out a little bit. Kind of like a border, a little vignette. This could be like a little spot illustration in a book maybe, Guess that's it. I don't know why, but I just heard the voice of, oh dang it, I've got to turn Do Not Disturb on the phone next time. I just heard like the voice of like teenagers that I've had to try to discipline in the past, where it's like, all right, are we done now? Can I go now? Are we done? Yeah, we're done. That's it.